Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Okay, guys, so recently we saw a trailer for the upcoming horror comedy film, The HOODOOS, which really piqued our interest. It looks right up Brian and I's alley. With us tonight to chat all about the production are stars Celeste Blandon, Jake Kopronica, director of photography Leigh Scott, writer Sean-Michael Argo, and director Jon Walter. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we get into the movie, which I'm really excited to talk about, I just want to go around the Zoom a little bit and get everybody just give us a quick 1 or 2 sentence on your role in the film and kind of maybe how you got into the industry a little bit.
Hi, I'm Celeste Blandon, and I am an actor in this movie. I play Alyssa, and I was very fortunate to have been brought to the table by Sean here, along with Jake.
I guess that segues into me. I'm Jake Kopronica. I play Lester, one of the crooks in the film. And Sam, I got brought on through Sean as well, and we're very grateful for that. Thank you, Sean. We had a great time on the movie. And yeah, I'm like the knife guy in the crew.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leigh Scott. I'm the director of photography. I went to USC Film School. I worked at a company called The Asylum for a long time. I've done about 30 feature films, mostly in this genre. And I got the call because Jonathan is the composer for most of my films, and Sean and I work a lot together. So that's how I got involved.
I'm Sean-Michael Argo. I'm kind of do a little bit of everything, but for this one, mostly writing was my focus. I've been in the business a long time. I've done everything from carrying trash to selling film licenses overseas. So you just kind of get momentum built up. And I met Jake and Celeste on a really cool Western we did in Kentucky earlier in the year. And yeah, we just all gelled. So when Jon said we were going to make a puppet movie, I was like, well, I have an idea who we can work with.
Don't forget, though, he also played Hatch, who's like...
I did.
Yeah, he's the lead of this movie.
Yes, I did. I did see him in the trailer. So
yeah. Fantastic. I'm Jonathan Walter. I'm the director of this movie. I came up with this crazy idea. I guess I grew up on like Charles Band movies, so I wanted to do something that wasn't Puppet Master, but something that was kind of for this generation of kids watching horror movies, something kind of fun, and so that's kind of what I really have started in movies doing music. So that's really how I got to this point.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely we're huge fans of Full Moon. In fact, I have the subscription to the Full Moon streaming service. We've talked about it on the podcast so many times. We're like, that is one streaming service. I don't care what it goes up to. I would get it all the time because there's so many times when I can't think of something I want to watch and I find like a comfort film on that channel. So it's like,
I've got the subscription myself. So.
Yeah. So I guess let's get right into the movie with The HOODOOS, which first of all has a cool title to begin with. Right off the bat, when I saw it, I think Celeste, you had posted it on your Instagram, and I think I had and I was like, wow, looks really cool. So I guess this is for everyone. I guess so. If you want to just tell us a little bit about how the film came together and how everyone. Well, I guess you kind of mentioned on how you guys got signed on, but I guess if you guys want to talk about how the film came to be and like I guess where the kind of the impetus of it came from.
Well, I think it started I was fooling around with AI, coming up with crazy characters, and I'm always trying to think of something Louisiana focused. So I sent Sean some pictures of like these little like rascally looking creatures. Mm-hmm. And I said, should we do something like this? He's like, I'm in. And then it just developed. I just thought, what do we call this? How can we mix voodoo in it? And then that's when I came up with the HOODOOS title. And then from there, I just kind of thought it would be interesting to take famous voodoo or Louisiana monsters and put them into puppet form. So we have Papa Legba, got like Baron Samedi, we've got a character like the Swamp Thing, kind of swampy. Mm-hmm. We've got a vampire named Saint Germain, who supposedly still is alive and haunting New Orleans. And we've got Marie Laveau is one character of the puppets, and what's the other one? Rougarou. So that's kind of how that. And then when I pitched that to Sean to write it, he was just so like, "Oh, I've got to do this."
Yeah, he sent it to me, and over the years, projects come and go, and you try to start things, and more projects almost happen than actually happen. And when he sent me his like full pitch, I was just like, oh God, we have to do this. Like I know this movie. I know in my heart this movie's going to get made. And it was a weird feeling. I've never really known that a project was going to happen, because usually, you have to go through the chaos of financing and distribution and all that stuff. But yeah, it just, we knew it was going to happen. So we knew it was just a matter of time.
Nice. What did you, Jake? You and Celeste. What made you guys think like I got to be in this thing when you heard about it?
Well, for me, I'd say first of all, Sean, definitely. Like I'm like anything that you ever work on, I'm there. Also just I read the script and I'm like, this is freaking hilarious and crazy and spooky at times. And I knew when I saw the specific character that I ended up playing that that's someone that I would like to embody. Because she's a badass, so I was here for that.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of what Sean-Michael had said when we had met on the Western we did. We all kind of just gelled really well. So when he's like, hey, we got this movie where you guys play criminals, break into a place to rob it, and get, met with a bunch of voodoo dolls. We're like, that sounds fun. And we get to go to Louisiana for 3 weeks. So.
Which is one of our favorite places in the world. Oh my gosh, the Cajun food. Honestly, you could have just paid us in Cajun food and we would that.
Yeah, that is I've been to Louisiana, but I've not been to New Orleans, and that's on my bucket list. My wife's been there plenty of times, so she's like, we gotta go. So
my dad worked down there for some project he was on, and I think he gained like 30 pounds while he was down there because the food was so good.
Worth it.
Yeah.
So
everything's fried here.
Yeah. Now I've been down there and I've visited Shreveport a few times for training, and we always ate good while we were down there. It was great. So this one, I guess this is more for Sean-Michael, but from the writing standpoint, kind of some of your inspirations.
Specifically for this one, I didn't really have like that Full Moon background. I kind of enjoyed some of those films, but I hadn't really sunk my teeth into that then. So that was kind of a, I sort of just powered through a bunch of them just to kind of get the vibe. And I'm a real big fan of Guy Ritchie, so I like that kind of snappy dialogue heist thing. And so being in a position where we're combining those two things, and then voodoo, which I'm obsessed with just as a person, and it ends up in a lot of my projects. It was really fun. It was really fun just getting to get in there and figure out how am I going to make a convincing heist story and then blow it all up with voodoo dolls.
Yeah. I love the premise, because I'm into heist stuff. I'm into puppets. Everything about it was like right up my alley for sure.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that when the combination of because I've seen so many horror movies where they add that like criminals going into something, and it always adds something so cool, like this extra layer, because like you're kind of like, okay, they're criminals, so you shouldn't be rooting for them, but somehow you usually end up getting to be on their side because they're in the middle of this horror movie, So I always love that aspect.
Well, and I wanted them to be I wanted them to be likable. Like, yes, they're criminals, but like these are like small time piece of shit criminals who are taking on this crazy supernatural thing. And so I wanted you to be there to laugh with them, but also start. I want you to be sad when they go.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. No, like.
And I think in the past, too many of these films are focused just on the puppets, so they kind of become almost like I don't know. They kind of become a little B-movie-ish, goofy. This movie is really like the puppets are there, but they're just one part of the story. The heist really is the movie, and it's actually kind of fun, the whole heist vibe that it gives. But I mean, that's why Hatch is such a great character, because he's really just this scam artist voodoo guy, but he's really lovable,
And it's kind of fun because we're not really like inconveniencing anybody during this heist. We know we're just going to get like gold that people have forgotten about because the place is supposedly haunted. So it's not like we're ripping off anybody or causing any harm to anybody. So the criminals are more or less just guys that kind of got like work for hire type of thing. Just like, hey, go get this for me, and then everything should be fine.
It was funny too. You mentioned about the puppets too, because that's actually my next question. So, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, kind of course, instantly it gave, and I'm sure John, like you said, it gives it puppet master vibes. But and I think it's because each one of them has, like, I was reading on your page, like all the different the characteristics of them and how they're based on real people. So what was it like? So this is for everyone. What was it like filming a movie where you have to have like puppets as characters? They are a character, so you're actually now acting against a kind of an inanimate object or
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of weird because you have people in green screen suits behind them, and you're trying to like focus on the puppet itself, but it's quite distracting. So you're like, did I get a good take? And then you have to play it back, and then of course when you're editing, you catch things like maybe like a wire cross where you didn't want it to or something. But it's kind of for the actors that I think it's probably a little bit difficult. And Jake and Celeste can respond to that.
I would say the weirdest part about it is like if you're fighting with one and there's no person behind it, you gotta be careful because they're breakable.
Yeah.
Pieces of art, they are, and you have to be careful with those babies. So, yeah, that was an interesting thing, and just watching our our puppetry artists work was really cool to see how that works and how it takes two people to move one puppet. And yeah, it's definitely an art. I grew a whole new appreciation for it. I always thought it was cool, but now I think it's next level cool.
Yeah, it's a form of Japanese puppets. What are they called?
Bunraku.
Bunraku, and so two people in Japan, they actually three operators.
Oh, okay.
I think it's three. Well, because one operates the center of the body, and he's the most experienced person. And it takes like 30 years to become the guy who just operates the center of the body, which is weird, but
you get a certification, like, okay, now you are now certified to operate the center of this puppet.
Yeah, that's what our puppeteer told us. So.
Yeah, it was
That's cool.
Like, you'd be down there with them, like not to go into spoilers, but I have a scene where I'm really close, kind of face to face with one, and it was the puppeteers do go away. Like there's these two bodies right in front of you in really tight green screen suits. But it's like the little dude in front of you. Just the green for me, the green screen people went away.
We didn't want to use stop motion because it gives that puppet master sort of classic vibe. Like this is kind of interesting because they kind of move and it looks really like convincing. Where stop motion, I like stop motion because it is kind of hokey in a cool way, but we kind of wanted to eliminate that vibe.
Well, and like the marionettes, they're being controlled from the top down, and the Bunraku puppets are being driven. They're being driven by sticks.
Yeah, like little sticks going the arms.
They're being pushed instead of pulled, and so it has this whole different vibe.
Yeah,
it's cool. I'm glad you went that way too, and didn't put like a CGI or anything, like you said, like stop motion. It's kind of cool when you get like that any kind of practical effect, and especially when you could do something like that with puppets and. Because it kind of it makes it a little creepier, honestly. Because when it's I always feel when something's too polished, you're like, yeah, well, that's it. But when it's like a little bit like janky, the movement, I guess, is for lack of a better word, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, we didn't want to go CGI on it because I like practical effects. I think it's sad that people have gotten away from a lot of practical effects, but
At least people are going back. I feel like the resurgence of that lately. A lot of people just want to do those practical effects, which is cool. So
yeah.
So I want to get to the voodoo piece of this. So where does everybody stand in terms of your like after making this movie, your voodoo knowledge, and has the film changed your perception of voodoo at all? I know, Sean-Michael, you already said you're already heavily into it.
I'm off the deep end in it, so really for me it was just fun, but I did make sure I worked with the art department you know, and when I was writing it, just to make sure that we were properly respectful to the certain symbols that we were using, to, you know, different, because I wanted it to feel authentic, even though, you know, obviously we freestyled a lot too. It is a movie, but I think as a with a baseline of respect, you can have all the fun you want.
Yeah, if anything went wrong on set, we always said, "Oh, did we anger some spirit?" So for me, I take that stuff seriously. Like I don't think it's something to mess with. So you try to be respectful, you know, because it is somebody's religion, you know, and it is
exactly, yeah.
yeah. So and you know and you know I don't want to like conjure anything up. Or
I was a little scared going in. I was like, "Oh man, are we making a cursed movie here? What are we doing?"
Especially if you see that like that documentary on The Exorcist when they tell you all, you know, it's like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, if I'm ever on a movie set, I'm gonna make sure whatever I do, I don't aggravate some kind of something, whether I believe in it or not. You know, if as long as somebody believes in it, I will never like what's that phrase? Like I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum. I like if that's someone's thing, we'll respect it, and you know, because everyone has their thing, so you know, it's like I don't want to. I would be the same. But have anyone have anyone on the set now like was like skeptical, but now is like, oh, this stuff's legit now.
no,
I mean,
no. I know that where we were filming, all the buildings, you know, are museum pieces. So
it was already really
there
creepy.
was a vibe already in there. Like one of the buildings we shot on, there was somebody murdered on the actual porch we were shooting on, and the bullet hole was still there from like I wasn't like the early 1900s,
Yeah,
70s or something.
yeah. We
So,
were
yeah.
at the Rural Life Museum in Baton
Oh,
Rouge.
cool.
Yeah,
There's
there's a vibe.
they're like historical buildings from like plantations and stuff that they've, you know, very carefully moved, and so it's all of this history concentrated on this one piece of land that's full of weird trees and moss, and like I said, it's already creepy just walking around in daytime. So, you know, once you ramp it up with a movie production,
Yeah.
But to me, that's just that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. I like having a little bit of that creepy edge.
Mhm.
What's funny, you guys led right into my next question actually, because Tim and I always feel that like you know, a good set or a good location could be like a character in the film itself. So what can you tell us a little bit more about the film sets there?
Well, we were originally going to do it in a plantation house. That's how Sean had written the script. So we had to break it up because there's just like 20 different buildings. So we had to make it like a whole plantation, like, but they weren't in just one house. So we had to actually split up the whole script, which was kind of weird. And we weren't sure if it was going to work. We're kind of nervous about it because it's like
Yeah.
they're going from building to building. And is this going to work? Are people going to understand where we're going? And I made maps and drove myself crazy and I put it together. It works beautifully. And it makes the film interesting. It keeps moving because you're not just stuck in a house.
And it does make it a character.
Yeah, and it makes it a
It's
character because
absolutely a
each
character.
building has its own sort of vibe. And you know, they had a graveyard there. They had an old church there. They had an old store, an old kitchen. So
Cool.
it really makes for a really cool location.
It's neat. I'd like because sometimes it's like, you know, you could just like on certain movies you'll see like they'll try and like capture this location. It's just not like
Yeah.
it's something's off about it. But just from the little bit of footage we saw through the trailer, it looks like a really cool set pieces you got there.
And the way Lee lit it, it was just he just lit it.
And we got lucky with the hazer too.
Yeah, we had a nice
Just
hazer.
the oppressive atmosphere
Yeah.
of Louisiana.
Yeah, we would just fog up the set and have really cool lighting, you know.
That's awesome.
Nice.
You guys are good because you led into my next question.
See,
and this one is specifically for Lee because you don't get off easily. You have to answer at least one question. So how did you decide on how you would shoot the film?
Well, first off, I don't believe in coverage. I think coverage is for the weak. You want to plan out your shots and you kind of at least mentally storyboard stuff and kind of focus on the script and making things scary. Because a lot of times if you just shoot coverage, you miss that angle, which is really effective and really scary. There's a bunch of shots in this movie where it's a character like on the ground and there's this creepy puppet crawling toward them. But if you're just shooting the coverage, you might miss that bit. So I kind of broke it up with Jonathan in sort of like what are the little, pictures that are going to explain this story rather than just saying we have to get everybody's lines on camera, everything in close-ups. And the other thing I like to do like longer takes with moving camera where the camera's kind of moving around the people. People are moving in the shots as well. So the whole film is very dynamic. It's not like boring and sort of like more of the traditional stuff today, especially low budget horror. It's like wide shot of people sitting in a room, bunch of close-ups, maybe a 2-shot, and then you're out. This movie, the camera's all over the place, which is cool. I think it makes
Very cool.
It's a lot
Seems
of
like
work.
that would work for this kind of a plot where there's a heist going on and there's a lot of frenetic stuff, like a pace. I think that really works good. I'm glad to hear that that's going to be because I kind of like that. I know some people are like, oh, the camera moves too much. I'm like, well, it's like real life, What are you going to tell someone not to move? Like if they're moving too fast, So it's like I'm all for that.
But
Well,
it's
it's
also
not handy cam. It's
yeah,
very
no,
smooth.
yeah, we have the DJI Ronin, which is like a steady cam for the whole thing. So it's not handheld at all. It's not like jittery cam. And also the people move a lot too. People move in like natural ways around the sets and around the places. So that also helps tell the story and make it spookier.
I
It's
love that kind of stuff.
funny too because Lee would say, try to stay away from, standard coverage. And one time I went into standard coverage and we were there for like 2 hours too long. And he looks at me and goes, "What did I tell you? Don't shoot like that." I'm like, "Oh God, yeah."
You're shooting for the editing room
Yeah.
floor.
I was like, I didn't do it again. I was like, okay. Because yeah, you get trapped in these like close up here, close up here, close up, and then you get trapped in that instead of shooting it in a smart way. And especially when you're on a low budget, you want to keep things moving, and making it interesting because you don't have, you don't have the budget to back it. You gotta really use other techniques to sort of make the film look a lot more expensive than it was.
See, we have so many independent filmmakers on, and that's actually one of our kind of our signatures. We love to have to hear, the process of that. And that's one of the constant things that I keep hearing, and I love that you guys are following that too. Is like they always say, like, look, we don't have the budget of like let's like this like Nosferatu or something. But so we really plan ahead, and I love to hear the creative ways people get by that because who was it that we talked to? We were at the HorrorCon, Tim, when Joe Bob Briggs said that where like he was
Yeah.
doing a panel and he was talking about how people these like low budget films and people were like, oh, it's low budget, so it wasn't good. And he goes, no, it wasn't good because you didn't have a good script that had nothing to do with the budget. That to me, that's what I love about independent film, and I love hearing the stories from stuff like that because it's always so cool because not everyone's going to have the same resources. So it's great when you still have a great story, great cast, great crew, and you come up with something so awesome on the same like a fraction of the budget as someone that has millions and millions.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, it's all planning. Like if you plan right and you get the right people, you can really make magic happen. And this movie, everything just lined up.
You make room for miracles.
Yeah, everything just lined up. I mean, my whole cast, Celeste and Jake, all these people just appeared, and they were all amazing. So I feel so blessed in that respect.
Thank
So
you
maybe
for
you got the good voodoo. You got the good voodoo going
Yeah,
on.
right. I
We
hope
did.
so. I hope so.
And Celeste has the black cat going on too.
Oh, I just noticed that. Yeah, look. Aw.
Very thematic.
we had one, then about a month ago, another one literally ran into our apartment and now she lives here.
Aw.
Our
Yeah,
third
Tim and I are big pet lovers, so
Yes. Yeah. I've got 2 cats.
Yes, kitties are the best.
yeah, we're dog. I'm a dog family, but I did have a cat when I with my a roommate years ago. So I do like any kind of pets. I'm all for. So, um, so actually, here's kind of a fun question. We like to always get like cool stories from the sets. Particular. So, does anyone have any kind of funny stories or any kind of like interesting stories that you guys like? Maybe a challenge that you overcame or something.
the mosquitoes.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, they were bad.
How much of the budget went to mosquito bug spray?
Enough that on the film that we're doing now, we added a line item for mosquito repellent.
That's awesome.
Remember one of the PAs just always having to go make runs to
Yeah.
the store and come back with more, and they're like, "This Walmart is running out of bug spray," because we kept getting.
Yeah, it was bad.
in a weird way, it was a smooth enough shoot. I don't really remember. I mean, there's just your usual stuff. When you're making movies, there's always like chaos. Little little things like the weird drunk guy that like showed up and tried to like walk into our set. I don't think of that as a story because unfortunately on these smaller budget films, when you're in a position where you're even remotely exposed to the public is going to participate in your film project, whether you want. So you do have to kind of develop, the producer move.
Yeah,
where you usher them away,
right. Oh,
without causing
I
conflict.
do remember something that I thought was funny. Remember, okay, we were at the producer's house where we dug the grave that Celeste falls into in the movie, and
Spoiler.
I know, another spoiler.
anyway, she screamed so loud. I thought, oh, they're coming. The cops are coming. I never heard a scream like that. She is a scream queen.
Nice. Well, yeah, your credits are going. You're definitely you got the Scream Queen trajectory there going with all your projects. So
He makes a good point though. When she did that scream, that was early in the film. It was like day 2, I think, and it was. You could feel the energy on the set change, like she's got movie star energy, and like it totally changed the way like everybody was like, oh fuck, we're making a movie.
Yeah.
It really did change the vibe that day, and that vibe stayed with us for the rest of the shoot.
Yeah.
You.
the scream heard round the world.
I'm gonna say I find it really concerning that every time I scream in a movie, no one comes to my help. And sometimes in this room right here in my apartment, I'll be recording ADR for something and I'll have to ADR my screams sometimes because a lot of times I do make the mic spike or whatnot. So then I'll have to re-record it, and I'll just put a sign on the door here that says, pardon my screaming, I'm recording right now, or I'm filming something, and no one ever comes.
That's
no
why
one calls
nobody
the
comes.
cops.
Everybody always goes to knock and they read the note. Another idea for a film where it's
Or an idea for murder, just saying.
My God, I'd invite people over when I knew you were doing that kind of thing. Like if I was in an apartment nearby or something, and just like pretend. What are you talking about? I didn't hear any scream. I just.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So this next one, we always like to. I love this question. We our listeners are probably tired of us asking it, but I like to ask it because I always get interesting answers. And the question is, and anybody can answer this, is how would you pitch this film to potential viewers? Like, what do you want the viewer to get out of it? Because sometimes that answer coming from the creators is different than what I would expect sometimes. And it kind of, sometimes it gives me a different angle on the movie.
Well, I think for me, it was a movie I wanted to see. So I made a movie that I wanted to watch. So it's like, for me, it's like, it has the best elements of a movie. It's just got the heist, it's got the fun, it's got the horror, it's got the dolls. It's just the setting is great too. I love that sort of foggy, low lighting setting. So it's for me, it's like that's how I would say you got to see it, because it's a fun movie. It's really a lot of fun and it goes quick. It's a quick 90 minutes.
Yeah. If I was going to pitch it, I would say it's a voodoo heist horror comedy in the vein of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, there is a Scooby-Doo vibe.
Scooby-Doo vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. I actually just watched the Susie Q short, Jake and Celeste, before we interviewed, so that was awesome. I saw the poster behind you. But yeah, I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. Like that pitch right there is like enough to get me in. Before I even watch the trailer, I'd be like, yeah, I'm in.
I need to see that one. I want to see the Suzuki one. I heard you guys talk about it, and you guys did like a little interview at a horror something. I watched on YouTube, so I was like, oh, I gotta see it now. I gotta make sure I put these on the list.
We have a feature script.
Yeah, we have the feature adaptation of that.
It's in the works eventually.
Sean's read it.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Nice.
I would totally.
Well, when you start shooting that, you'll have to come back on because and then we'll help promote that too. So
I think HOODOOS is your classic midnight popcorn movie. have a movie night with your friends, family, everybody have a beer or two, and get ready to just have a good time. You know, it's just I think it's just one of those where it's not set out to give anybody nightmares or to make you laugh at yourself all the way to the bank, but it's that nice blend of all of that. And I think anybody that doesn't have fun with this movie just doesn't have fun in general.
Yeah. If you don't like this movie, you're lame.
Yeah.
You suck. So
I heard that's the tagline too, right? If you don't like this movie, you're lame.
You're lame.
Isn't that?
I like it.
No, that's awesome because Tim and I always we're big fans of horror comedy, and sometimes it'll go, when it goes too much one way, too much the other, it's too horror and too much comedy, it doesn't, it seems off. But I like that you guys are in that mindset of it kind of being a nice balance. It's got a lot of everything, and that to me that's kind of my type of movie. So I'm I'm very open with all my different movie. I have a wide array of horror that I like, but I don't like to pigeonhole myself into a specific type. But I love when there's a couple of genres mixed together is the best, I think, because it's always because then it kind of it averts your expectation. You don't know what to expect next, which I kind of like. So
It's like Phantasm meets Goonies meets Ocean's 11.
oh, that's awesome.
I like that. Would you
You
guys say
are
this
selling
is
it more now? Now I need to want it now. I want to see it after this, right after this interview.
Would you guys say this is a gateway horror film? Not saying like a little kid, but slightly younger, tween, teen,
13-year-old
early
kid
teen.
with
I could see somebody watching
Yeah.
this being like, "Oh, this horror, I like this horror thing."
Yeah.
And then they'll be disappointed by everything they watch.
Well,
Tim, your kids have seen way into
Well,
they're
yeah,
already way in there now.
My kids are 15 and 13, and they've seen everything. Texas Chainsaw, Terrifier. They've seen everything at this point. So yeah, they're well past the entry level stage.
You two went before him then.
No, they'll probably I know Tim's kids will like it. So I guess like I said, I can't wait to see this. So in terms of release, what can you tell us about where and when audiences will get to see it?
so once we finish it, being an independent, we have some freedom as far as how we choose to release things. So we're gonna start courting various distributors and all that. But something that's going to be pretty key for us is physical media release, because
yes.
too many, I know Leigh just had a movie, Little Mermaid, that got just dropped onto streaming by Lionsgate. They didn't properly promote. I mean, it still did well. I know they're happy with it, but they just they released a trailer and stuck it on Amazon, and that was it. And I feel like as independents, because we can control so much of our media footprint, I like he said, he made the movie he wants to watch. I want to experience this. I love physical media, and I think we just don't have enough of it. So I really want to focus on physical media. I want to do conventions. I always loved going to cons and just buying makers. That's just such a cool experience. And I've been on both ends of that table, where I've been working at a sales company, and we would do the Fangoria conventions. And so you're selling DVDs, so you end up learning a lot about the films that you're moving. And so, we're just cramming information on all these indie films so that we can properly, sling physical media. And so I think with that as a priority, that's going to be our first phase. And then, then we'll start going into streaming and everything. But I really want to kind of get on the ground and connect with people, and physical media is the way to do that. So that's going to be phase one.
Well, I am a massive, Tim will tell you, a massive.
Brian owns more
physical
Blu-rays
media
than anybody I've ever met in real life.
Yeah, so I was going to tell you, put one aside for me so I can order it as soon as it comes out, because I will definitely be. And if you guys are at a con out near me, I will definitely come by and check it out, because I definitely want to see. I ask everybody that comes on a movie, I said, when's the Blu-ray or DVD coming out? That's what I need to know. I need to have it.
Hopefully within 3 or 4 months or something, because I just locked the picture finally today. So
we're distracting him with another movie.
Yeah, so now I have to movie. then I get back to it. So
Right.
So, where can our listeners follow the progress? Is there anywhere to follow the progress of the film? I know there's a web page.
So that we're kind of we're behind the curve on some things like social media, and so Jake and Celeste have been very gracious, helping us make sure. So yeah, you know, we've got our website, but Instagram is going to be kind of the core platform for us.
Yeah, the Hoodoo's movie on Instagram.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the show notes, so our listeners will be able to check it out.
Yeah, and that's how we discovered it. Because I think,
Yeah.
like I said, I think Celeste had posted the trailer on it, and I linked it, and I made a comment, and then she reached out. She's like, "Hey, you guys want to have people on?" We're like, "Absolutely," because and I sent it to Tim right away. I'm like, "Tim, you got to look at this trailer. This is such an us movie."
Oh
So
yeah,
it's like-
instantly. I was like, oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this.
yeah, so we're super excited for this, and yeah, so thank you so much though about coming on, spending some time. I know it was tricky. It was a little back and forth trying to get this scheduled and everything, and so Celeste is probably fed up with my instant messages on there saying like, when can we do it? Can we move it to Thursday? Can we move it to Tuesday? I'm out of there. So anyway, so thank you all for coming on and spending the time chatting with us.
thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. This has been fun.